Step 3 in Hitler's plan to becoming the Fuhrer of Germany was the Night of Long Knives. In the previous video, we covered the Enabling Act, which gave Hitler the powers of Article 48, the emergency powers, without having to have an actual emergency, and he could basically pass laws whenever he wanted without having to consult the Reichstag. Please watch the previous videos if you haven't done so. But now, Hitler's really close to becoming the Fuhrer, thanks to the Night of Long Knives. So, where are we on the timeline? We're in June of 1934, Night of Long Knives. In a few months, so June, July, August, in 2 months, Hitler becomes the Fuhrer of Germany. And almost a year has passed from the Enabling Act, March 1933, to June 1934. So actually, over a year has passed. So what happened in the months leading up to it? There was over a time gap of a year. So each month, pretty much every single month that passed, Hitler had a plan. Hitler did something that helped him consolidate his power as Chancellor and helped him to become the Fuhrer. So, what happened in these 5 events between these two key events? We'll cover them briefly. It's not that important, but at least knowing a bit of it helps you to have a bigger picture of what really happened in these months leading up to Hitler becoming the Fuhrer of Germany. So in April of 1933, a month after the Enabling Act, the civil service, the court, and education, so basically the government everything in the government was basically purged of alien elements. So this means that, so you kind of associate aliens with like things you hate, right? So people against the Nazis were removed from positions of power. So the Jews, the other Nazi opponents, they lost their positions there. So that would kind of make it harder for them to stage uprisings or coups, right? In May of 1933, a month after this purge, trade unions were banned. So all workers now belong to the new German Labor Front, the DAF. This was on the 2nd of May 1933, and basically what would this do? It would prevent different workforces from staging revolts or just saying that we don't like this. So it prevent groups of people gathering, right? So trade unions were banned. A month later after that, in June of 1933, 9th of June actually, the employment law was passed, and so public works were created. So public works like road building or building infrastructure were created to create more jobs. That kind of boost Nazi satisfaction, right? Because new jobs are created. A month after that, in July of 1933, so 14th of July, there was a law against the formation of new parties. This is really important. So it didn't allow new parties to be created. That would basically remove any potential opponents that Nazis could potentially have in the future. And a concordant agreement was signed with the Roman Catholic Church. So that means the church was basically the church was protected. It could practice its religious freedom, but they were banned from political activity. So the Catholic people are a pretty big chunk of people, right? So it prevent the church from saying, "Oh, we shouldn't follow the Nazis." It prevents something like that from happening. So the church was banned from political activity. So this July 1933 was pretty important because new parties were prevented. So potential enemies are gone, and potential big chunks, groups of people from the church are also prevented, thanks to this concordant agreement. In January, so a couple of months past, January of 1934 now, all the state governments are taken over by the Nazis, and now we're in the 30th of June 1934, the Night of Long Knives. So the build up to the 1934 Night of Long Knives. So within a year, between 1933 and 34, as we just discovered, any opponents, including the potential opponents of the Nazis, were either in concentration camps run by the Nazis, or had left Germany, or they were basically worthless. They didn't really have any power. So, other political parties had been banned, remember? And however, still Hitler wasn't fully secure. He didn't fully have consolidated power without any potential opponents or, anyone. He didn't have 100% full control yet. And the leading officers in the army were still unsure about him, and were particularly suspicious of Hitler's SA and its leader, Ernst Röhm. The SA under Rome was a problem for Hitler. Remember, there was the SA and the SS. The SS was part of the SA that was fanatically loyal, like extremely loyal to Hitler. But the SA was just part of the Nazis. So the SA could actually. Actually, let's first do this first. Rome controlled 4 million undisciplined SA men. 4 million is a huge number, right? And sought to make the SA into a second German army. So the army officers were concerned about him, and Rome's control of the 4 million SA men also made him a potentially dangerous rival to Hitler. So, he could either side with the army and just get rid of the SA, because the SA could also threaten him. The SA threatened the army because of he wanted to make the SA into a second German army, but it also threatened Hitler because he could also, you know, they could rise up and overthrow Hitler to gain control. So he was concerned about Rome. and especially his control of the 4 million SA men. So you would have to choose between the SA and the army. Now remember, the SA were with the Nazis, with Hitler from the start, and the army were kind of new. They weren't sure who to trust. So the army didn't really have any loyalty to Hitler, but the SA sort of had loyalty to Hitler. At least they were associated with Hitler. So it'd be a trade-off, whatever decision he made. So what did he do? Night of Long Knives. Now it's just a stock image of the FBI ratings in Random House, but I couldn't, there were no images of the SS Night of Long Knives because, they're not going to really record whatever they do in the 1990s or whatever. So, imagine these are the SS men. So Hitler made his choice and acted ruthlessly. On the weekend of the 29th to 30th of June, it happened over a span of 2 days. Squads of SS men, remember the SS were fanatically loyal, extremely loyal to Hitler. They broke into the homes of Rome, the leader of the SA party, and other leading figures in the SA and arrested them. Remember the difference between the SA and SS, right? SS were those who were fanatically loyal to Hitler, extremely loyal. Hitler accused Rome of plotting to overthrow and murder him, and over the weekend, Rome and possibly as many as 400 others were executed. These included former Chancellor von Schleicher. Remember von Schleicher? He was the former Chancellor who replaced von Papen. But, he was a fierce critic of Hitler and others who actually had no connection to Rome at all. This purge is what is called the Night of Long Knives. The results. Now, I couldn't really get an image, but President Hindenburg thanked Hitler for his actions, and the German army now believed Hitler's loyalty was with it and not the SA. So imagine Hindenburg gave Hitler a medal. Best I could do. The SA had not disbanded, though, and it remained as a Nazi paramilitary organization, but was very much a subordinate of the SA. So it was under the SS. So the SA was below the SS. And basically, paramilitary just means like an unofficial military organization. It's not so basically a Nazi paramilitary. It means that they're not the official army of a country, but they still had it's like basically the security guards you see at the mall. It's like not really the army, but it's kind of a group of armed people. Many of its members were absorbed by the army and the SS. So the SA members were absorbed by the army and the SS, and Hitler now had little to no enemies, and needed one more step to complete his step to becoming the Fuhrer of Germany, the army oath. Just a little bit of spoiler: someone dies, and then that allows Hitler to get power. And we'll cover this in the next video. Now, before we end, I just wanted to cover this. It's really important to understand how this helped Hitler. How, in the big picture, what this did for him. So what was the benefit of this Night of Long Knives? So it removed some of Hitler's potential enemies. So Rome could have staged an uprising against Hitler and tried to take power. So it prevented that. It also gave the German military leaders, confidence in Hitler and that his loyalty was with them and not the SA, who had been with Hitler all along. So it kind of gave the army leaders some confidence in trusting Hitler, and it would also come to help Hitler in the future in the army oath in the coming months. And it also basically got rid of any potential enemies of Hitler. And now he only needed one more step to completing his plan. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.